1B. All about a reptilian host, Brian. He lives a facade. There is no conspiracy or even political books in his house, and yet he knows so much. His persona is a jovial cockney, a term for a Londoner. He has a hidden strength and wisdom that didn't fit with his persona. He has extraordinary mental abilities. He was able to memorize long telephone numbers with ease. He was an expert on the computer, although he did not use this for his day job, quote unquote. His thoughts are stronger and cleaner than other people's, and I was able to pick up his thoughts, although I am not telepathic. He even used advanced mental processes to seduce women. I know because he used them on me. Other women have had similar experiences with these reptilian hosts who are collecting DNA samples by having sex. I met one such woman. His abilities extended to such things as remote viewing, astral projection, and mind scanning. All these abilities he disguised, even the way he spoke, which would change remarkably when he spoke to work colleagues. Basically, he was trying to disguise who he was so no one would know who he really was. He is extremely knowledgeable on all subjects. Funny because he was uneducated. His eyes have a steeliness about them that was unexpected. Their steely eyes are quite a giveaway. One woman described to me eyes like tombstones. He avoids talking about himself, and when he does it, always and when he does, it was always positive. He knew that what we say affects our lives. If we talk positively, it brings about positive things. He was a he was paranoid about other people being psychic. I know he was frightened that they would discover who he was. My friend had a particularly hard time from him, for she was a little psychic. This is how I discovered that Brian really, this is how I discovered what Brian really is. He isn't just human, he isn't just reptilian, he has two sides to him. This is what happened. Now, I had my suspicions that he was more than human, the telepathy, the weapons, and the information he knew. But I was taken aback when I was visited by an alien being who chilled me to the bone. This is how it looked. It was a transparent, only energy. It had circular patterns like florets repeated through most of its body. A head was visible, and there were hands or something that manipulated tools. I was terrified. There was an evil chill to this being. However, it had a high vibration as though it should be good and loving. This was confusing. They are high, these aliens. It had a large body, and the whole room seemed filled with it. It talked to me in Brian's voice, but in a more chilling way. It somehow made me feel that I had no power to prevent it harming me. Extraordinarily, there was a two-way conversation between this alien and the human host, Brian, in Spain, and the two Brians were talking in the same voice. This was evidence that there are two beings in one body. Orders were given by the host. Can't make sense of this. This was conducted telepathically. Let me now say what else I discovered about Brian and how I drew my conclusions. Prior to having met Brian's reptilian being, I had an experience with Brian's human spirit. He actually astral projected right into my body. He did this twice. I was in another country at the time, and he came over via astral projection. Now, I'm normally a shy person with strangers, but with Brian in my body, I started to smile at everybody. as Brian does when in the right mood. Everybody was included, and I felt I had a great power to attract. He also spoke with me telepathically in Brian's usual voice. This was, I must say, quite a pleasant experience overall. I actually felt enhanced by Brian's astral projection. However, he played mind games to display his superior mind and harass me. I have concluded, because of these experiences, that Brian is a combination of a reptilian spirit controlling a human spirit in a single human body, and Brian has described this. They have body snatched a human, but they keep the human spirit there. A worker in the Dulce underground base named Thomas Costello confirms this when he states, they know how to separate the bioplasmic body from the physical body to place an alien entity life force matrix within a human body after removing the soul, quote unquote, life force matrix of the human. The life force matrix would, I assume, be the spirit. I also have evidence that the reptilian and human spirits are technically joined at the mental level. Ryan has in fact told me after the event, quote, I am the reptilian and I just use him, the human. I ain't no human. Well, he's part of me, but he ain't me. You know what I mean, unquote. And, quote, they don't exactly coexist. It's more like the alien has overwhelmed the human. The reptilian is now in the driver's seat, unquote. And by this I assume he means the mind of the reptilian is in control. I deduce that the human spirit is needed to coordinating the body, which the reptilian can't do. It is not scared for typos in this book. How can this be possible? With spirit technology, which they have. He tells me the alien hijacked his human body when he was 20, and prior to that he had been abducted when he was a teenager, and describes it as follows. I've been there, their spaceship, in person to have a few things tampered with. They hauled me up in some sort of beam. It stunk. They made sure I could breathe. It was a bit of a weird experience for me. I'd been a normal geezer, and then there I was. It reeked. I can't say I felt great about it because I was human, wasn't I? I wasn't reptilian then. They looked they were dressed all right. They couldn't talk initially. They can't talk. Can't say a word. And then I became telepathic and I could hear them and they spoke with me in English. They enhanced my mind. My mind was fucking amazing now. And they nicked a few things. Body specimens. And then they plonked me back in my bedroom. Quote unquote. He has also told me that before he was born, all of his past life experiences had been removed, including any karma, and his implants, see section 15, had been removed. When Brian is trying to harm me, I get a mental image of a wide jaw, sharp teeth, roaring in a blood-curdling way, a bit like a dragon, as well as Andrew Hennessy has described. Brian tells me his alien physical form has a jaw without a nose, scales, eyes but no ears, is aqua blue but only in his own environment, but would appear a green color here. I have seen aqua blue reptilians which could be the color they are. It is over twice the size of a human and is very unattractive. They smell unpleasant. He says, our bodies are out of sync with the rest of us. We wish we didn't need bodies. The alien unattractiveness may be the reason he admires female beauty so much and expects very attractive girlfriends and is very critical of any imperfections. You may wonder why I continued to want to be Brian's lover, but I had mixed reactions to him. When Brian shows himself as he truly is, I am awe-inspired by him. My thoughts are, what does he want with my lowly, excuse me, my thoughts are, what does he want with lowly human me? Why doesn't he want others like him? They are so much better than me, for he is so much better than me. I actually felt honored that I was in his company. I suppose you could liken it to a human being, to a human with a dog and the human hanging out with the dog. Well, the dog would think, what do you want to hang out with me when there are other humans to mix with? They are more than I am. It was like I was in the presence of a great master. I was honored, and he made me feel, why should he possibly wish to spend time with me when the other masters must be more interesting for him? So you see why I remained attracted to him despite the abusive things he did. Confusing the T, quote unquote, I can assure you. I have always admired him. The combination of the reptilian and human host result in a person who I found to be both extremely harmful and a little helpful, with a desire to harm and help, but mainly to harm. I was harmed and also given a little help, although he tells me that I wasn't really helped. I just thought I was. He tells me that he does occasionally experience wanting to help those he harms. However, the alien desire to harm overrides this, and that he would rephrase desire to harm into a mission to harm in order to keep all keep you all fucking down. They actually are very helpful, but they don't want to help humans. He seems to be a combination of the reptilian qualities of cruelty, evilness, extraordinary mental abilities, and human qualities of an undebilitated soul of kindness, helpfulness, and joyfulness. So there is a Jekyll and Hyde scenario. However, the human, stripped of all its past life experiences, is immature. It too acts badly, knowing no better, and the reptilian can't deal with the emotions. He is extremely cruel, and evidence I have is his cruelty towards me. We were going out, and he kept me subjected to some of the weapons, see later, when he could have so easily stopped them. I accepted his behavior, a flaw in myself. I have now realized the error of my ways. He openly displayed animal cruelty, cutting his duck's neck with a blunt knife and watched it slowly bleed to death for all to see. I am an animal lover and did what I could to help the duck. He didn't even realize that it was inappropriate. He was amazing. He has amazing success with women. Remarkable considering he is not a good-looking man, or powerful, nor rich. He admires female beauty very much, and his expectations in this area go far beyond his own attractiveness, and yet all his girlfriends are very attractive. I was astonished. I believe the reason for this is the seduction techniques he uses. I experienced these seduction techniques, and they involved advanced mental processes. One of them was images of him having oral sex, actually, like a record replaying itself over and over again. I suddenly became very attracted to him, and yet I was always tense around him. His womanizing was rampant, above anything or anyone else I knew had ever experienced before, and his interests were only there until the women stayed the night, and once this was achieved, he completely lost interest. And it wasn't just the sex, because the sex during the day would be pursued further. It was actually the collection of DNA samples. This was one of his duties, the collection of DNA samples when the women was asleep. Mine were taken along with many of the women I knew. I met a woman in California who had been involved with a man just like Brian. She was scared of him. He was a rampant womanizer, but gay with tomb-like eyes and psychic attack. They must be operating worldwide. Once his initial seduction ends, I found him to be negative about humanity. He hated the Spanish. He would constantly pull me down with phrases such as, "You're hopeless." I was never any good at anything. He became a bully, unpleasant and critical, and yet my attraction persisted. He wasn't actually very nice, but put on an act. In conclusion, Brian had characteristics that are compatible with humans. These are helpfulness, intelligence, and rational thinking. A high vibration wisdom. These are very attractive qualities, and I was very attracted to him, and all people will find this attractive. This is where it ends. The rest of Brian's character are completely incompatible with humans and are so destructive that any human should not get near any of these reptilians. There is their evil nature, and there is no changing it. They are the most evil beings imaginable, and they won't think twice about treating anyone in a most evil way. They may help them too, and this is so confusing. Humans and reptilians do not mix. Humans are not equipped to handle their evil power. They are so evil that they will relish anyone's pain and would inflict it if they could. It's like a thrill to them. Pain in the worst it gets, more thrills they get. They are like the eye of a whirlpool of evil, the power at the center that is pungent with evil. Like the eye of a hurricane, but the eye is the power point. They are what the Bible describes as Satan. The worst horror film would not succeed in getting across the intensity of evil that is them. We are their enemy, and as such, we are to be destroyed. No matter what help they appear to give, all they desire is our destruction. Brian once said to me that he hated all humans as that is how reptilians see us. I believe that those people who have had positive experiences with reptilians have only dealt with the small portion that we are compatible with. See picture. So here's the picture. Give you a little pie chart. Reads diagrams of the characteristics of a reptilian. Humans are compatible with their helpful portion, incompatible with their evil portion. So there looks like they 2/3 evil and 1/3 helpful. They may have been useful to the reptilian. Because of this use, the reptilian was not shown its evil parts to this person. We must understand reptilians are not to be known. They are not part of our interaction. That we as humans desire for growth. We mess with reptilians and we end up destroyed. They are not us and not anything we need to understand. Brian's team. Brian did not work alone and had a team of 5 reptilian entities working with him. These entities were of varying development, and the more developed they were, the more helpful they were. The Draco being the highest and the most helpful.